In the grim dark of 40k, it is not uncommon to hear the word Exterminatus, especially on worlds that are overrun with orks, tyranids, or more often than not, by chaos cults. You see, it isn't just chaos space marines or traitor primarchs that can ascend to the rank of a demon prince of chaos. Many a times it's mere mortal humans, a dabbler of the arcane or a leader of a cult, that are given blessings of the ruinous powers to work for their cause. So the Imperium would gladly sacrifice a world to save 100 others from such a threat. And now, you might be thinking, who are these mortal men turned demons in 40k? And my boy, here we are to serve and showcase. Let's begin. The first one here is Doombreed, the Skull Lord. He is one of the most infamous and ancient demon princes of Khorne, a being so steeped in slaughter that some claim he predates even the rise of the demon primarchs. Unlike many of Khorne's champions, Doombreed's story begins in humanity's distant past, in the shadowed age of Terra, during the early 1st or 2nd millennia. At this time, Terra was a fractured world of barbaric warlords, and amongst them all rose a figure of unparalleled savagery. His name is lost to history, recorded only on a scrap of dried skin, but his legacy was written in the blood of nations. He led vast armies across Terra, committing genocide and slaughter on a scale so immense that it drew the attention of Khorne himself, then still a relatively young god of war. The bloodletting, the endless skulls offered in his wake, and the sheer fury of his campaigns made him the perfect vessel for the blood god's favor. For his devotion to butchery and his unmatched prowess as a warlord, he was elevated beyond mortality, remade into one of Khorne's first great demon princes. In his ascended form, Doombreed manifests a colossal bloodthirster-like figure, cloaked in a black smoke that transforms into pulsing red muscles as he grows larger through battle, clad in brazen armor resistant to sorcery, and wielding both the axe and rod of Khorne. The second one is Melusine. She was one of Fabius Bile's earliest and most haunting creations, the first and greatest of his vat-born experiments, which are crafted from multiple genetic templates before he turned his ambitions towards cloning Horus. She was not a warrior, but something stranger, an unsettling fusion of artifice and flesh that horrified even Fulgrim, the Primarch of the Emperor's children. Fulgrim, unable to destroy her but unwilling to let her remain in the material realm, seized Melusine and carried her into the warp. There she was condemned to a cruel existence on the demon world of Calax, forced to dance endlessly to stave off the demons that sought to consume her. Slowly, Melusine became suffused with the essence of the warp, corrupted and reshaped until she was no longer merely a vat-born human, but a demon in her own right, twisted into a being that could exist both in dreams and reality. She haunted Fabius Bile and his followers, guiding, manipulating, and even tormenting them in equal measure. Ultimately, when Fabius lay dying after the battle of Belial Foe, it was Melusine who preserved him, saving his life with demon aid and sealing his primary body away in the webway to slumber until he was needed again. Thus her path from creation to demonhood was one of endless corruption and transformation, a mirror to Bile's own legacy of perverse creations. Number 3. The zsah'uj Sorcerer. Here we have the Sorcerer of Tzeentch, which was seen in Warhammer 40,000 and They Shall Know No Fear. And he was once a mortal human, a follower who surrendered himself to the arcane promises of the change of ways. Like many who sought forbidden knowledge, he began his journey as a man, hungry for power beyond the confines of flesh and mortality. Through dark pacts and immersion in the warp's immutable tides, he learned to channel sorcery and reshape reality, but in doing so, his body twisted into something monstrous. Extra limbs sprout from his frame, skeletal wings tore from his back, his blood burned blue with the raw essence of the warp, and his face became something alien, an eyeless mass that could unfold to reveal a giant central eye doubling as a mouth. His pursuit of Tzeentch's gifts has erased all remnants of humanity in him, leaving only a warp shell driven by the will of his patron god. By the early 42nd millennium, the sorcerer had made his lair on the chaos-corrupted world of zsah'uj, watching over a grotesque statue of the Lord of Change that served as both an artifact and a focus of power. Though once a man, his transformation showed the inevitable fate of mortals who give themselves to Tzeentch. And the prize for forbidden knowledge is not glory or ascension, but the annihilation of self, replaced by a mutation bound to chaos. Number 4. Ingethel. Ingethel the Ascended, one of the most enigmatic demon princes of chaos, began life not as a warp entity but as a mere mortal native to Cadia. Once human, she was chosen by the ruinous powers to serve as a singular, pivotal role in the galaxy's history, guiding the Word-Bearer's Primarch, Lorgar Aurelian, on his pilgrimage to the Eye of Terror. Ingethel's transformation into a demon was sealed through blood sacrifice, 10 molds offered up to the dark gods, among them Vendetta, a custodian of the Emperor himself. This grisly act marked her ascension, as the powers of chaos remade her into a demon prince, a princess, and a herald of the primordial truth. No longer bound by mortality, Ingethel became the voice of the gods, revealing to Lorgar and his followers the terrible lessons of history, that the Eldar, who once sought transcendence, birthed only their doom in the form of Slaanesh because they could not embrace their own truth. As a demon prince, Ingethel guided the word-bearers deeper into the Eye of Terror, showing them the shattered remnants of the Eldar's empire and further embedding them into the service of chaos. Though she now manifests as a twisted, immoral creature of the warp, Ingethel's origins as a mortal Cadian shows the fate awaiting those who open themselves to chaos, from human servant to eternal corruptor. Number 5. Lady Charybdia. She was once a mortal who rose through blood, decadence, and devotion to Slaanesh until she achieved the ultimate reward of demonhood, becoming one of the few known demon princesses in the galaxy. Her ascension granted her dominion over Torvendus, a demon world within the Maelstrom, where reality and the warp bled together in an endless cycle of excess and cruelty. Unlike many champions of Slaanesh, who relied solely on the ecstasy of sensation, Lady Charybdia built her power on structure and control, commanding vast mortal legions, cultists, sorcerers, and even renegade space marines, weaving together a hierarchy that both fed her god's hunger and expanded her influence through the warp-touch realm. Though she delighted in excess, her rule was marked not only by hedonism but by a cold, calculating authority that ensured loyalty and fear even amongst her subjects. Her reign reached its peak in Ben Countess' demon world, where her realm clashed with the word-bearers, testing her strength against one of the most fanatical of the Emperor's fallen sons. And if you're wondering what was the outcome, well, do check out Demon World by Ben Counter. Number 6 here, we have Bubonicus. Once known as Lothar before his demonic ascension, he began life as a mortal champion of Nurgle, hailing from a primitive, isolated world cut off from the wider Imperium by, raging warp storms or the like. On this backwater planet, Lothar embraced the plague god's gift, rising through devotion, decay, and endless pestilence to become a favored servant of Grandfather Nurgle. His unwavering loyalty and sheer scale of his corruption eventually earned him the ultimate reward, transformation into a demon prince. Renamed as Gururk Buye in the tongue of demons, well, that's hardly pronounceable, though more commonly known as Bubonicus, he came to rule over a festering demon world within the Eye of Terror that bore his own name, Bubonicus, a grotesque realm of disease and ruin shaped in his image. Bubonicus first emerged in Imperial records during the Horus Heresy, when Erebus of the Word-Bearers summoned him alongside other demons in the great ritual at the Battle of Khalt, a foreshadowing of the demonic invasions to come during the Siege of Terra. His ascension from a forgotten human warrior to a demon prince ruling a plague-ridden world in the Eye of Terror reflects the essence of Nurgle's power, the promise of immortality through rot and dominion, through despair and decay. Number 7. Inkari. This is one of the most infamous demons of Slaanesh, and was not always a creature of the warp but began as a mortal born of the same backwater world that also produced a mortal who would become Bubonicus. Trapped for millennia in the heart of a raging warp storm, this world resisted countless chaos incursions, yet in one such invasion, Inkari rose to prominence. Devoted to Slaanesh, he proved himself time and again in brutal combat, only to indulge in vile revelries of excess and debauchery once the battles were won. This perfect balance of slaughter and sensation caught the Dark Prince's gaze, and Inkari was rewarded with the ultimate prize, ascension to demonhood as a keeper of secrets. As a greater demon of Slaanesh, Inkari fought alongside other champions of chaos during the Horus Heresy, summoned by Erebus at the Battle of Khalt and later fighting at Fulgrim's side, even standing against the Emperor himself aboard the Vengeful Spirit. Though slain and banished back to the warp many times since then, Inkari has returned across millennia to plague mortals and Eldar alike, forever embodying the corruption of indulgence, cruelty, and obsession that once marked its mortal soul. The 8th entry here is Flamefist. He was once a mortal noble named Werner Flamefist, born on the same storm-shrouded world that produced the future demon princes Bubonicus and Inkari. Unlike his peers, Werner was no warrior but a man of forbidden curiosity, secretly delving into alchemy and occult studies in pursuit of hidden knowledge and the power to transform base metals into gold. In his desperation, he offered prayers to the shifting powers of fate, and Tzeentch answered. Guided by a vision, Werner uncovered a stone saturated with the warp, a relic of change that became the first step on his path to damnation. With his discovery, he gathered a secretive chaos cult around him, performing rites in Tzeentch's name. When his kin uncovered his heretical practices, they attempted to purge him and his followers to preserve their family's honor. Instead, Werner escaped with the remnants of his cult and fled to the dreaded Chaos Ways. There he waged endless battles for zsah'uj, fighting rival champions of the other gods for 2 decades. His perseverance and cunning were rewarded when he finally struck down Festus, a favorite champion of Nurgle, and was granted the mantle of demonhood, ascending as a demon prince, Flamefist. Now riding a disc of zsah'uj, his mortal quest for alchemy was twisted into the eternal pursuit of change, of sorcery, and of fire, sealing his fate as one of the change of ways many chosen and, sadly, victims. Number 9. Mammon. Also known to the Dam as the arch-corrupter of Vrags, he began his fall into damnation not as a warlord or a conqueror, but as a humble deacon on Thracian Primarchs. By the time he rose to his clerical station, chaos had already woven into his soul. His path to damnation accelerated when he found an eager ally in Cardinal Zaffin, a vain, ambitious man that he manipulated with whispers of holy wars and persecution. Under Mammon's poisonous counsel, Zaffin was convinced to launch a grand war of faith and relocate to the fortress world of Vrags, where Mammon carefully wove rebellion and heresy into the planet's fabric. As Vrags drowned in blood and disease, Mammon himself delved deeper into forbidden demonic worship, his soul becoming ever more entwined with Nurgle's embrace. When the World Eaters, the warlord Zufar, the Impaler, seized control of the rebellion, Mammon fled to the warband known as the Tainted, offering himself wholly to the Plague God. Nurgle, delighted with the billions of souls, of corpses, plagues, and ruin sown in Vrags' name, rewarded him with ascension, raising Mammon to the rank of Demon Prince and remaking his body to a host of the rotting majesty of a great unclean one. And number 10. Mephitis. He is feared across the stars as the Plague Reaver, and was once a mortal man whose obsession with flesh, rot, and disease drove him into Nurgle's embrace. In life, he served as an adept of the Officio Medicae, but his fascination with mutilation and contagion twisted his healing arts into perversions of death. Corpses bear his signs of experimentations, and mass poisonings followed in his wake, until at last the authorities apprehended him. Cast into a dungeon to rot, his mind unraveled in the dark, where he began carving strange glyphs and shapes into the stone walls. As his devotion deepened, Mephitis' body bloated and strengthened despite his starvation, until even the cell bars corroded away, which you might guess is under Nurgle's influence. Freed, he started to spread pestilence across his world, unleashing war-born plagues that extinguished all life. Nurgle, pleased with the devastation, marked him as a champion of chaos, and Mephitis left his dead homeworld and began to wander as a living vector of corruption. Hive cities rotted under his infestation, and entire masses succumbed to zombie plagues nurtured by his hand. His ascension was sealed when he led a war host into the Hadex anomaly, where he annihilated a rival Khornate foes and claimed the demon world for Nurgle. With this victory, he was exalted into demonhood, forever transformed as the Plague Reaver. So that's the end of the video on the 10 mortal humans that became Chaos Demons. Do hit the like button for support and also subscribe to be a part of Legio Nutbug. Oh yeah, hit that hype button if you see one in the screen to, forward the video to other viewers. Something like that. Anyway, till the next time, take care, boys.